Are you a student, mentor, or parent that loves robotics? Then you're in the right place. Up-to-date info on all things robotics. This is the RoboZone Podcast with your host, Pete Ekman. The RoboZone Podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world.
Hello and welcome to the 42nd episode of the RoboZone Podcast. This podcast is for Tuesday, December 19th. In this episode, we talk to the EngiNerds, we talk to the FridgeBots. We get ready for 2 weeks from now when the F.A.S.T event is started and Kettering Kickoff is right around the corner. Grab your favorite drink, grab your favorite popcorn, get to the interview. And hi, this is Pete Ekman with the RoboZone Podcast. This is the 40-something RoboZone Podcast. I lose count. You know, we're a couple weeks away from Kettering Kickoff, or F.A.S.T Kickoff. So with me tonight I have Brandy. Brandy, please introduce yourself.
I'm Ms. Brand and Bollinger, and I'm co-head mentor for Team 2337, the EngiNerds in Blanc, Michigan, and I am the team organization.
I should have said
mentor.
The infamous Brandy, because you've been on here many times, and we've enjoyed every time you come on. So, and you don't have to thank me. I'm just speak the truth. And tonight we have a returning mentor for the past couple weeks, Scott. Scott, introduce yourself.
This is Scott Stapp from Team FridgeBots, Corunna Michigan. I am the lead mentor and looking forward to kickoff here in a couple weeks.
Right, and we're going to get to that. I will tell you guys, and I told Scott, but Brandy hasn't heard this story, our listeners have. But last week I had a great interview with one of the guys from the FridgeBots, and we were talking about how to host a F.A.S.T event or an FTC event or a Lego League event, and we even talked about doing one in a different country because he did that. And we got through the editing, and I did the editing, and went to post it, and catastrophic failure with my PC. Like, the PC died. Like, died. Like, it's dead. Like, it's a doorstop right now. So between last week and this week, I built a brand new Ryzen 1600X with all the bells and whistles rig that we're recording on. So I hope it sounds loud and clear. We'll tweak the knobs, as they say, for the next couple weeks, and we'll get it buttery smooth, as the podcasters say. So I wanted to get Brandy and Scott on board tonight, and I thank them in advance for coming on board. Brandy's going to talk about a meeting she just came from, which was strenuous. I wanted to get you guys on, talk a little bit about 2 weeks from now when we'll be at Kettering Kickoff. And I think we're all going to be at Kettering Kickoff together. Is that right? I know, Brandy, you're going, but Scott, are you going to Kettering Kickoff?
Actually, most of our team will be back in our lab. We order in pizza and watch the video, the kickoff. At least one of the representatives from our team will go over to Kettering, watch the big show there, and then check out the new field. So, but
it's become a lot more popular, Scott. I mean, I remember in the day when, probably 10 years ago when the EngiNerds started, that it wasn't broadcast as much as it readily is now. And so teams really do gain a lot of advantage. I'm imagining that your team gains a huge advantage by not having to come all the way up to ring.
Oh, yeah. And if I remember back a number of years ago when we first went to Kettering, we got snowed in. At kickoff.
Yeah, it was McKinnon, and there weren't enough seats for everyone. And, now that it's in the international room at Kettering University, Bob Nichols has just grown the FIRST robotics program at Kettering University so much that, even now, I think last year he had about 750 teams at the kickoff at Kettering. And how many teams like yours are staying home to do it because, it's January in Michigan.
FridgeBots do theirs at their place. They usually invite people over. They have a great thing on. But our team, has decided amongst themselves that it's to our benefit to hang out at our place and brainstorm as soon as we can so we can hit the ground running.
Now this is where I'm going to have to come in, and I'm going to have to do a rebuttal. Because if I kept my team away, I would not be attending the workshop that the EngiNerds and Brandy are going to give us as a rookie team. So I can't go along those lines. I can't agree with you guys in this matter because I'm very much looking forward to going to the workshops that Brandy's going to put on. We're going to talk about that in a little bit because without that help, I could tell you we'd be dead in the water starting.
Those are the next.
But it's Kettering Kickoff.
Kickoff is one of my favorite days. I think that there is something to be said about going to Kettering and being in the big room with all the people. And he does do some workshops before the the broadcast starts, Mark Taylor usually gives a very informative workshop, manipulatives. Now it is a little bit more advanced, so if you are a rookie team just starting out, I think a lot of the stuff that Mark is going to talk about is super helpful, but also very in-depth and maybe a little bit above resource level for a lot of teams. And then
I will say,
go ahead, Scott.
Sorry. The first time that we ever went to Mark's thing about manipulative, and we didn't know what we were looking at. We didn't know how we were going to use it, and to me that was a disadvantage because he gave so much great information, but we had no clue what we were going to do with it. So
yeah, I think if you're a second, third, fourth year team or even beyond, I think Mark's workshop is something that you should definitely continue. But the thing that they're doing this year is they're running it simultaneously. Clinton and I will be giving, mostly Clinton, I'll probably just be there clicking buttons, giving a history of simplicity. So over the last 20 years, what have been simple, effective designs, keeping in mind kind of like similar to a minimum competitive concept, a robot that is built with little resources, little money, little time, maybe even little knowledge, but still performs the task effectively. So those are going to see those is one of the is that you do get by going to the Kickoff at Kettering. Now I know that there are a lot of Kickoff locations all around the state of Michigan, and each of them is a unique experience, but I do think that it's exciting to be there with a lot of the other teams and to be able to talk about it. But each is own, and especially if you don't have a Kickoff near to you, it's a good and safe idea just to hold your own.
Right, and as far as my team, we have the FridgeBots that's doing a Kickoff event, and they called me and they said, hey, Pete, you're our neighbor. Do you want to bring, 7056 over and do it here? And I said, I'm sorry, I'm already dedicated going to Kettering because I wanted to go to the workshops. So...
Yep, I think that's a great idea. I think any first, second, third year, fourth year, they can't do any better than going to Kettering. It is an amazing experience. I know last time I was there, it was pretty much elbow to elbow, standing room in the back only, And the new teams in our county, I'm telling them all, this is what you've got to do. You've got to go.
And I think Bob Nichols, the director of F.A.S.T Center, amazing supporter of robotics, I think he sets up 800 chairs.
Wow.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of
cardio. One of
cardio.
those used.
Yeah, yep. We know because the EngiNerds are the ones the next day taking it all down for our workshop.
Yeah.
I'm sure he appreciates the help taking it down again.
And that's if anyone listening to this podcast, you have to go see the F.A.S.T Center at Kettering University because it is an amazing place, and they have a full-size field that's going to be set up with all the field elements, so we can actually see what we're going to be using this year. So I think that's and there's week 0, and we haven't talked about that. We'll get into that in a couple weeks when we start talking about events coming up. Week 0, I was there with RoboZone last year, and we saw the EngiNerds there, and Brandy and Clinton there. Scott, were you at week 0 last year?
I was at another team location at a week 0 event. Yes.
So it's just an amazing event. So Brandy, we've walked around the workshops that we're talking about, but let's get into it. So, what are the workshops that the EngiNerds are going to host for us on the second day of Kettering Kickoff?
So, the day after the Kickoff at Kettering, which is Sunday, January 8th, the EngiNerds host a free workshop for all the teams throughout the state of Michigan. Right now, if no one drops out of our kit of parts build, our kit of parts build is full, but we always do have minutes somebody decides not to come, so we do have a wait list open for the kit of parts build right now. So what basically ends up happening on the day after Kickoff is the EngiNerds take over the Kettering University Campus Center on a donation from Bob Nichols, who's just again a phenomenal supporter. So teams arrive starting at 8:30 in the morning, giving us their kit of parts. And even if you're not building your kit of parts, if you're a second, third, fourth year team who opted out of the AnyMark drive Jive train, you can still attend. Clinton and I, a couple of hours of strategy dictates design, which is basically teaching teams how to break down the game rule by rule by rule, and scoring ability by scoring ability, and finding out what the maximum score is for the game, ways that you can score, ways that you can get penalties, and finding out what is available for teams. And on the EngiNerds, are huge proponents of building within your means. So identifying what your team has available to you, your monetary resources, your mentors, your students, your meeting schedule, your build facility, the tools, the machining, everything that you have available to you, and come up with a strategy, not necessarily a design, but a strategy that's in your means. So we walk through every bit of the game and break that all down with the teams that are there. And it's not just Clinton and I standing up in front talking. It's if the people that attend are talking with us and helping us walk through the rules and identify things that we may have missed. So during the strategy dates design portion of the day, our EngiNerds elves, as we call them, are sorting the attendees' kit of parts and taking out only the components that we need for the kit of part build. So then we break for lunch, and we turn the international room from a lecture hall into a workspace. And we work with teams to assemble the kit of parts chassis, and we provide an electronics components board, and teams wire all the control systems for the 2018 robot with wire that is provided in their kit of parts. And then we also teach teams how to use Anderson connectors, which are donated by the robot space, and how to strip and crimple wire, how to properly manage your wire. And then we also update laptops for you and teach the programmers how to deploy default code. And this all happens by 5 o'clock. And then for the students and mentors who are not working on the route, we're offering a series of workshops this year. A new app that we're actually offering this year is developing a scouting system. So it's not necessarily about how to scout as much as it is how to collect the data that you need to make a pick list. So as we know, when you enter the eliminations at competitions, there are 8 alliances of 3 teams each. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you watch matches to gather data on and manipulate that data to make appropriate pick list. F2 of the EngiNerds chairman's presenters and awards section student section leaders that are going to be giving a workshop alongside me, talking about the awards applications for and veteran teams and where you can go to find resources on that. Then Chloe and Bella from our team will be giving a little bit of advice, students' perspective on how to get better at talking to judges in the pits, since that's kind of one of the things that makes new students and even veteran students a little bit nervous. Just come around, you see those blue shirts and suddenly you forget everything that you've been learning about and practicing to say for the last 6 weeks. And then I will be giving a team organization workshop for mentors of teams. We do ask that students and parents kind of opt out of this one because we talk a lot about dealing with those difficult students and dealing with those difficult parents, as well as some resources for mentors on communicating with your team, developing team agendas, managing a team calendar, and kind of trying to survive this season sane. That's
a good sane.
Oh, I should have taken that one years ago.
Scott's a little insane in the membrane, as I joke with him all the time about.
Being a first robotics coach is definitely something that's trying on your patience, especially if ice is not necessarily something that you equipped to relate to.
It's a very special person.
It does, yes. And my background's with little kids. My degree's in elementary education, and I teach preschool. I'm better with 3 and 4-year-olds than with 14 to 15-year-olds. But everyone has their own special talent, and not all of us are the best at what we do. So just try to give a little bit of advice for, if there are only a few things that you can do, here's what you should be doing.
And I've signed up my team, 7056 out of Fowlerville, Michigan, the F.A.S.T team. I just like to say that name, the F.A.S.T team, for all of the workshops that the EngiNerds are going to be providing. So I want to thank you, Brandon, Clinton, and all you guys that participate from your team to give us that, opportunity to jumpstart our season, I'd say. I think it's a good springboard.
Yeah, this is the 7th year that we've hosted the workshops, and there are a lot of teams that are hesitant to come and make the trip, especially from far away, that when they leave, they just say, we're so glad that we did this, because there are teams, if you don't know what you're doing, especially if you are a language arts teacher or an English teacher, or, a teacher that has become the coach of this team because you were asked by administration or something else and you don't know what you're getting yourself into, leaving with a moving chassis on day 2 is a huge start. It makes your season attainable. When you look at the FIRST robotics competition and the fact that you have to build this robot and you see some of the other robots that teams are building in 6 weeks, it becomes very intimidating. And our hope with this workshop is not to teach everybody about everything, but to give you hope, to make this achievable, to make it relatable to you. And over the course of 7 years, we've helped almost 200 robots be built. So, and it's not us building it, it's actually us teaching you how to use the tools, teaching you how to do this. And I think it's just a great benefit for teams to come to this. And even if you'd like to come and just watch, you are more than welcome to. Even if you just want to come and go to the workshop sessions and not build your robot, you are more welcome to come.
And I can go ahead.
Our original FridgeBot robot, the robot that gave us our name, is got EngiNerds design in its underchief. The board that we got at that event at the build thing that the EngiNerds on is what designed the base of the robot. So,
and we design our electrical board so that once you're done deciding, because we do build a wide, long chassis that, based on FIRST's previous perimeter rules, is too large. We don't know what the rules are going to be yet because we released those. But odds are you're going to have to make your robot smaller after you leave our workshop, and we do not want to dictate your design or your strategy for you. So we let you cut your robot to the size that you want. But our boards are designed so that you can just trim it a little bit smaller and it should fit on a robot, even within the perimeter that's set by the rules.
We still have that board hanging up in our shop there from 2014.
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear, Scott.
And I'm telling you, as a rookie mentor, this isn't my first rodeo when it comes to robots coming from 70 and 494, and my daughter being from 2337, who's going to help out this year as a mentor on my team. But having a rolling chassis and programming it and it moving by the time we leave, I don't know what I would have done without it. Honestly, Brandy, I don't know what I would have done without this workshop coming up, because
you spent 3 weeks building your chassis and then only had 3 weeks to build your manipulator. Now you're going to have 6 weeks to build a manipulator. So you're going to be
focus on one. I'm only going to focus. Well, I'm going to. I don't want to say I'm dictating my design right now on this podcast. I'm just saying that I want to find out what the stuff that comes out of you and Clinton when it comes to when we do the dictate or game dictates design. Is that the name of the session? Oh, there we go.
Strategy dictates design.
I knew you had it. Attend that session and see what the kids want to focus on and do that thing really well. So that's our strategy coming to Kettering Kickoff, and we want to figure out something that we can do really well and then focus on that as a rookie team. And anything other than that would be just gravy. So
like Brandy said, just taking the class is a 3-week cheater advantage right there, And the beautiful thing is they don't sit there and say, okay, now put part A into slot A, put part B. They let you work on it. They hold you by the hand, take you by the hand and help you with it instead of saying, okay, next step, it was really neat. They've got the kids walking on there, and they'll come check on you every in a while, and sure everything's going
now,
great.
Brandy, do you have a metal ruler, and you go and if you see a mentor touching the robot, you slap them in the knuckles and say, "Hey, that's for the kids"?
Absolutely not. So the great thing about FIRST robotics is that it says nowhere in the rules that it should be 100% student or 100% mentor, even 50-50. The great thing on the EngiNerds is we believe that everyone best and you get the best outcome when you're co-workers. Yes. So the EngiNerds work alongside and with our mentors 100% way. So yeah, there are some things that a mentor might do more of than a student. There are many things that a student might do more of than a mentor. I will fully admit there are some things that are fully mentor done and there are some things that are fully student done. But you can't expect a student who doesn't have engineering knowledge to engineer things without working with an engineer. So we very hard to, maybe there's the first time a mentor does it and says, all right, while I do this, learn what I'm doing, and now you're going to do it and I'm going to help you with the second one. And the third time, you're going to do it yourself. You'll see that a lot on the EngiNerds. So when people look at our robot and they say, that can't be student built, trust me, it is. And that goes with our app too. There might be a time where an EngiNerds mentor or student who's assigned to your pod will come over and strip a wire for you. But you're going to be expected to watch and to learn so that you can repeat it yourself. So when we see students working together, that is what we aim for on the EngiNerds. That's not to say that every team should be like that, because there are a lot of successful student-driven teams, and there are a lot of successful teams where mentors do more of the work. But to each their own.
Right, and I was making a joke. I went to, was it 2 or 3? It's now 3 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago. I went to First in Michigan, put on a rookie workshop where we got to build this chassis with an arm. Yeah, robot arm. It was awesome, man. Yeah. I had a lot of fun, and the kids had a lot of fun. But sometimes I found myself getting a little too enthralled in it, and I had a certain mentor from a certain team, which I won't name here, but we competed with him last year at Lansing, and if he's listening, he knows who I'm talking about. He would come around to me and say, hey, remember, the kids got to do it too. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. Thanks for checking me over, making sure that they had a lot of fun. And the biggest thing out of that, and I thank Gail and Dan Camere for doing that for us. It was a long day, but the kids got the most kick out of programming at the end in LabVIEW. They want all that software on their machines as soon as we came out of there so they can start working with it. So it was an amazing event. So thanks, Gail, if you're listening. I hope you are. But we can't wait to attend yours either, Brandy. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I think these kids have a little bit of an idea what they need to do, and I'm sure you guys are just going to mold that clay right into little soldiers for me so that when we come out of there, we have a rolling chassis and we get going. So,
and our main hope on this is that we can enable every team with the skills that they need to be successful in whatever way that their team needs to be successful. So we've always joked around EngiNerds and said that, we don't make models, we break the mold. And we teach teams to be independent, and we teach teams the skills that they need to be sustainable. So we just hope that every team that comes out of here leaves with that.
So, Brandy, let's dive into this, because I've been making a laundry list of things on a sheet of paper that I got to do. Actually, I'm using my iPad, so I just use the Apple Pencil. I'm not humble bragging there. I'm just saying I make these little notes on my iPad. Yeah, because I don't like paper. I like to do it, the smart way. So I'm making notes of everything that I got to get done. So give us the top 10 things that a team needs to do in the next 2 weeks before kickoff to make them a little bit more successful at kickoff. Can you give me 10 things?
Number 1, TIMS and STIMS. So it's the Team Information Management System. and the student information team management system. I think they changed to like the youth management system. I don't know. They changed the name of it like every 10 minutes for the last 3 years. So you're going to make sure that your primary and secondary contact in the TIMS, which is the mentor version of the team management system, are 2 people that are actually going to be involved with the team. So if right now it's like your school principal and your superintendent, you're going to want to make sure that your team has lead mentors as your primary and secondary contact. If you don't know who this is, then you can talk to whoever got your team started at school. If Gail Elpert was gracious enough to come on board with your school and help one started, then you're going to want to maybe check with Gail about who she put on as your primary and secondary contact for that. Then from there, you're going to want to make sure that all of your student team members are registered. In order to do this, you need to go to the team management system as the primary or secondary contact and send an email invitation to all of the students on your team. So you're going to need to get their emails from them. And this will create a roster for you. You're going to need to print this roster and bring it with you to the kickoff. So that sounds like a lot of work, but there are a lot of tutorials out there available for teams. So that's number 1. Make sure and STEMs are all set with you and print that roster. The next thing that you're going to want to make sure that you do, so for number 2, is make sure that your entire team knows where you are going and where they need to be for your kickoff. So if you do not know where your kickoff location is, you need to find that out. Then you need to make sure that you have a way to communicate with your team via email or Slack, as we talked about before.
Slack's number 1.
Yeah. However it is that you are going to communicate with your team, even if it is writing down on a piece of paper and physically distributing that piece of paper, that everyone knows where to go, when to be there, what to bring, and where to park. On the EngiNerds, we have agendas for all of our different competitions. So if you want to check out one of those, you can go to team2337.com/agendas and kind of see a sample of what's up there for the information that we gave our team for the workshops that we're doing and the kickoff at Kettering. So number 1, get into STEMs, make sure everything is set, print your roster. 2, create an agenda. Number 3, make sure that you have a team. I know that this sounds silly, but starting from the kickoff, having a team image for yourself, your team name, your team number, make sure every student on your team knows your team number. That's very important. I know that in a lot of sports and other things, the school you're from is the most identifying feature of your organization. In FIRST, your most identifying feature is your team number. So even if you have a veteran team with rookie students, making sure all of your rookies know your team number and have an awesome image for your team. Although Scott's team, you guys came up with your team name later on based on your robot, right?
Yes.
So that's super cool too. So I guess having a team name and team image from the very beginning is not necessarily always a must, because FridgeBot is very well known for FridgeBot.
And we actually got that at the one of the Zero events, scrimmage that we went to. So it's part of our lore, a part of our history. So definitely you want about a team name. Definitely want something unique. Unfortunately, schools are not the greatest at coming up with unique things. So you get, repeated Cavaliers and Bears and Lions. Oh my.
All right, I guess
you're on number 5. No, you're on number 5 actually.
Nope.
5th day of Christmas.
5.
Yeah.
Set a designated meeting schedule for your team. Meet the same days, the same time, the same place. This is really important because then your students will know when they're supposed to be there. You won't have students showing up at times when they're not supposed to be and not showing up when they are supposed to be there. And make sure that this schedule is posted someplace. Our team uses Google Calendar. So we put it out, parents, students, that way they can sync it with their phones. So create a schedule and know when and where you're
I have
going
that
to be
integrated
meeting.
with Slack, Brandy, actually. So anytime I post it to the calendar, I post it in Slack.
Yeah, that is definitely a very useful integration. I've got Clint here. I think for number 6, gain some basic tools for building your robot. So we at the EngiNerds, when we do our day after kickoff workshop, we've created a list of basic tools that you need to put together your electrical component system and your chassis. But there are a few extra tools that you might want to consider if you are either a rookie team or maybe a second-year team, and these are some of the things that might find helpful to you.
A lot of times, like, probably one of the most important tools, probably most useful tools is a power drill motor. Be able to drill holes. You know, on the robot, you're going to have to drill some kind of hole to attach either a fastener or a rivet. If you have actually getting a rivet tool and some rivets to be able to attach things, it makes it where it can be kind of quick to attach something and hold up over time so it can come loose. But then your other things would be, you know, a set of open box wrenches and Allen wrenches. I think those kind of 4 items are pretty useful at building. The biggest thing that's going to determine what tools you have is once you settle on what standard fasteners you want to use. Our team leans more towards using number 8 socket head cap screws or number 10 socket cap screws. The purpose for the number 8 is there's product out from Vex Pro that uses number 8 holes that are fabricated into the tubing or the gussets, so you can just use those, or you can use a 5/32 pivot in those same holes. So utilizing those tools, and once you kind of determine which ones you're going to use, it'll make it where you only need certain wrenches and box wrenches. But if you use, you know, 1 week you're using Phillips head and next flat and next Allen, you're almost going to be all over the place. You're going to need a ton more tools to keep it in operation throughout the competition.
I'd like to add to two things there. The drill motor, the bright shiny object with drill motors is a battery type cordless drill. A corded drill is cheap. Get a corded drill, at least backup, because nothing's worse than sitting there waiting for batteries to recharge after you've run every one dead because nobody put them back on the charger. And then the socket head cap screws, we love those. We've got those on all our robots, back to the FridgeBot, T-handle Allen wrenches and gear drive ratchet wrenches. You can take those things apart, you know, very, very quickly.
So Brand, you were on number 7.
All right. Number 7, find out where you're going to order stuff from. This especially applies to new coaches and to new teams. Figure out where you're going to get your parts from. There are a couple of different distributors for the FIRST Robotics competition that'll let you a PO or an open PO. So start working with your school to make sure that you can pay for the things that you need when you need them. Whether you're going to, again, an open PO, get a credit card, use a reimburse process, how it's going to be. So you need to buy something, you can get it. Whether you're opening maybe an open PO at, say, Andy Mark or the Robot Space, be making purchases with McMaster Car, or you're just going to be buying your stuff from Home Depot or the local hardware store. Whatever it is that you're going to be getting your materials from, payment procedures, and how your school handles money for all of those things.
It's funny you should bring this up, Brandy, because me and your husband had to talk about this the other day via text.
Well, there you go. It's an important thing that a lot of teams don't understand the fact that build season is only 6 weeks long, and when you need something, you need it now, like yesterday. And if your school allows you to pay things via check that gets cut every 2 weeks, that's just not going to work. You can't sit there and stare at the chassis that you left the EngiNerds workshop with for 2 weeks while you decide that you need some tube stock from somewhere and then wait 2 weeks for it. You need to do it then and now. So again, a couple of great places are Andy Mark out of Kokomo, Indiana. Fantastic. Andy is a great guy. Mark has since retired, but just a fantastic crew of people down there.
Podcast sponsor, by the way.
And then
Just saying.
Yeah, Andy Mark is great. Andy is just a phenomenal guy. And the Robot Space in Lapeer, so they've got a storefront that's been 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and also can ship orders anywhere in Michigan, next day shipping at ground rates. So that's pretty cool. So you can pick up things or have them the next day by 4 o'clock on those ones. And then McMaster Car is another great place. They pretty much have not necessarily things that are designed for FIRST robots, but all of those weird odds and ends that you need for your manipulators and fasteners and all sorts of different things for car. And they also do, I think, next day shipping at ground rates to Michigan. So that's really great too. And then again, don't discount Home Depot, PVC, plywood, a lot of those kind of things. You do need to be careful of the weight on those things. But all right, number 7. Number 8. Make sure you have enough mentors assigned to the tasks on your team. So break down your team into some kind of subsections. Our first year, we had mechanical, electrical, programming, and PR. And we had mentors that were assigned to each of those areas to just work with the students, to work hand in hand with the students, to when a student has a great idea but doesn't understand the engineering it, to take it that extra step, to show them what's going on, to work with them, to be coworkers with them. And even if you can only assign one mentor to each section of your team, being able to do that will make you phenomenally successful. Number 9, when you pick your schedule, maybe have a day off. Build within your means with your time schedule. Some schools I know only let you meet a certain amount of time. We met a rookie team last year who only, their school policy did not allow them to meet on Sundays and only allowed to meet 10 hours a week. They qualified for states. They built a robot that was within their means with their schedule, but they also had a lot of mentors there to help when they were able to meet. They were on task, and they built a very quality robot and a very quality program. And I'm really excited to see where they're going to be heading this year. So make sure that you have mentors for your tasks. How can I not come right now?
You're on number 10. We're on number 10.
Number 10, organize a meal schedule. Make sure that all of your students have enough food and water and drink for this long build season that's ahead of you, because hungry and thirsty kids start to do silly things. They start to act unsafe, and make sure that there's coffee there, because
mentors need it.
The world of FIRST Robotics revolves around coffee. So I guess
put a Sharpie next to water bottles too.
Yeah.
They can write their name on them.
That's a smart one. That's 11. That's a bonus. Might as well wait. If we're going to 11 and with the Christmas theme, 12 days of Christmas, we got to do a 12th, right? So what's the 12th?
What you got, Scott?
I don't know. Covered a ton. In fact, I'm sitting here writing on my notepad, not my iPad. I'm writing on my notepad made out of paper.
How about making sure that you have meals set up for Kettering Kickoff, because they don't have a lot of stuff around?
Yes,
nope.
the note just came out saying the cafeteria is not open.
Nope, but Bob has arranged for Jimmy John's and Einstein, I think, both to deliver. So that's a great option. For the EngiNerds day after kickoff workshop, we're going to have pre-order available.
How much is that?
So,
Why have you on the line? How much is that?
we're not 100% sure. We've been back and forth with the pizza guy here in Grand Blanc. I should know by tomorrow. We finally got a hold of him today. We're going to be offering Domino's pizza with some drinks and things for a set price for teams. It's going to be hopefully super affordable. The guy's going to work with Loves doing things in the community. So we're going to have that for the day.
Just send me that text and I will pre-register.
Yep, I'll be sending out a Google form. So yeah, making sure that you have food at competitions, food at build season, all of those things is a super great thing. So
12 great pieces of advice for not only a rookie team but any team, I think. Right?
I think so. I think, there's a lot of times when Clinton and I have seriously considered, reaching out to those second-year teams, because being a rookie, your first year, you have so many resources available. Then when you're a sophomore, it's like the rug is pulled off and underneath you, and they're like, sink or swim, babe. Have a great season. And
I remember telling my team in the second year, because I had the second year, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be so great. We're going to go to this. We're going to go to this. We're going to go to this. And I never got invited to that stuff the second.
And it's very difficult because
it's terrible.
You get kicked out of the nest. You're the baby bird that's fly. So I just think that a lot of these things are pieces of information that second year and even third year teams should revisit at the beginning of because it's so easy to look back at the success that you had at the end of the previous season and roll off of that. And we believe that you should always push yourself, and you should always want to do better. But it's really easy to forget that stuff is hard, and those jobs are hard, and success is hard. You have to earn it all. It's not just given to you. You have to earn it all. And having these great aspirations is fantastic. But every once in a while, you do need a reality check. So I think looking at 12 items is something that every coach should do, no matter how long you've been participating in FIRST.
Well, guys, it's been 50 minutes since we started. Can you believe that? We've been talking for 15 minutes.
That's what happens when you get me on
and we
here
love having you. We love having you, Brandy. I feel sorry for any of those mentors that are in their car listening to this and they're trying to write things down at the same time they're driving. We don't want to cause an accident. It's snowing out there, especially in Michigan. It's kind of icy. So, just listen to the podcast again. Yay.
That's what's so much better about a podcast over a radio station. You can rewind this. You can listen to it again.
You guys can send me an email. You contact me through the EngiNerds web. We have a contact us form on our website. Feel free, if you have any questions about any of this, send me an email. Pete and Scott, you both know I ran into Scott at Staples like a couple weeks ago, talking to him for like a half an hour.
It happens.
Yeah, the people kept looking at us going, are these people going to leave or what?
Because you guys were there at closing time, right?
No, it was like time.
I was trying to make a joke with that.
So yeah, I mean, if people want to talk to me, I'm glad. I'll talk your ear off all day.
So are we lucky enough to have Clinton still around? Is he still in the general vicinity?
Yep.
All right, Clinton. I put.
You just from our mandatory parent meeting that I had to leave to come Lucas to bed for. So we still have Clint here.
Clint, I want to pick your brain, man. So I've been challenging people the last couple of weeks. What do you think the game's going to be? Just take a shot in the dark, dude.
I think I've said it the last few years, so eventually I have to be right about it. I think it's going to be a pick and place game, just because we haven't had one in a time. I mean, the last few years it's been, balls or kind of low robots. I think we're going to have taller robots this year that have to place, an object, some kind of object. I want to say I feel like it's going to be like inner tubes. I really do, just because the inner tubes, they're actually really good game pieces. They really and they're lightweight, and it can allow for them to design a robot that can put things high up in the air, that good stuff. So I think it's going to be an uneven field as well. Most of that revolves around the fact that the last few years has been a flat field. I don't think it's going to be a flat field anymore. I think it's going to be kind of uneven, or maybe a ramp or something like that. A lot of the art has kind of the Donkey Kong platforms and stuff like that. That's kind of the concern of the I guess they publish. It makes me think that it's going to be uneven floor. I don't know. I think when I go back to the inner tubes, I think an inner tube could be a coin, and that's where they get the 8-bit aspect. I think the coin is going to be the game piece. I think that's what, like, the object that you're going to have to move, and however they form that, because there's a couple in the video, like the pre-release, they show the girls actually putting in the coin, and then another time there's a frame shot that says, insert coin, and that's the only thing on the screen. And then all the, posters and stuff always have coins somewhere on the posters. So I think something with coin. I don't know if I'm right. There was a couple of years ago, I think I wrote down a list of, like, I wanted to try to guess the game and put like 10 items down.
2012.
I think it was 2012, and then, like, the day of kickoff, I tried to see how many I got right.
We should do a tic-tac-toe thing this year.
Yeah. Well, it was just more or less like make some of these assumptions and guess, and then when you see the game, is like, how many did you get right, just to see if you get the most right.
We're gonna be on Saturday, and somebody in the back row's gonna be like,
yeah, that's what I meant. I meant bingo, not tic-tac-toe. That's what I was going with. First FRC bingo.
Well, you could do an FRC bingo on different things of what people say, right, during the kickoff. Is if they say first family of programs, you get to put a little bingo chip on your board, or if they say gracious professional is another, spot, and cooperation. Yeah, they say words and then see if you get bingo first.
Just no boxes of macaroni, like if you're at a bare naked ladies concert or something like that. Don't start throwing boxes of macaroni and cheese. So, Clint, I got one more follow-up question about that, and I think you had a pretty good idea. Those are all great guesses. I think you may have something there. So last year was the first year that we had an actual participant from a drive team on the field, right? Do you think they're going to keep with that theme, or do you think we're going to go back down a member?
I don't think that the player will be. I don't think that they'll necessarily have the player on the field this year. I think that was a kind of a one-off thing that they did that they thought was neat. I could see them wanting to try to keep the drive teams bigger, just from more people involved, more people get to do those things. So, but I don't know if they'll be a field. I don't know. I'm kind of like torn on it, because I could see them going back to the same old. But I think they liked the idea. I mean, when they switched to like 3-on-3, like used to be 2 versus 2, and then they switched to 3-on-3 for the bots. Like, once they made that change, they never went back, right? This could be a same situation where, a large complaint from people might be that not enough students get to be down on the field or on drive team. So this might have been their solution to try to address that issue and allow for more opportunities. So it's a thing that they don't go back and they say, hey, we got to figure out a way to have more people involved in the glass or somewhere on the field. There's a couple of years, like 2014, could have been some interesting uses of the human players to help with, like, returning the balls or something. So I could see them finding a spot for them. I don't think they'll be on the field, though. I think that was kind of a one and done. I don't see them being.
If they do put someone on the field, and I agree with you that they, the bigger the drive team, more people get involved. I just hope they don't put as much pressure as they did those poor pilots last year. Those poor pilots, man.
Yeah. So bad for them. It was actually, I think it was one of the hardest jobs, because you have the pressure of entire alliance, not on people, it's on 2 individuals that are up there, and they have to make sure the gears get up in the ship, put it in the right spot, rotate the thing, spin the thing, drop ropes. If they don't drop the ropes, not only is the people behind the glass hitting the glass, and the audience is all yelling rope at them, and all of
Joel Hurd had the funniest video last year. One of the RoboZone quick takes was how not to yell at a pilot in the airship, and it was hilarious. So
yeah.
I was at one competition, and there was a bunch of people in the audience yelling gear because they didn't put the gear up where you're supposed to. Another one, the pilots walked and dropped the rope because all they knew was that they were screaming.
Yeah. Poor guys.
It got very confusing when people were screaming.
Poor ladies and guys.
I remember we were actually looking at stats like week one. It was amazing how many week one events actually alliances that scored 0 points.
Yep.
I mean, they straight up screw, meaning no one took the freebie gear that was given to them and just put it into the gear number one position. Right? There was events week one that happened to. And so, yeah, there's so much stress going on to them. And then, or the other thing, they come out of the airship too early, and then they get a yellow card for stepping onto the field. I don't know. It was a really tough.
There was one where they were reaching out or something. It was the broken plane reaching out to get the gear.
Yep. Dipping your hand too low.
That changed actually the very first day.
Yep.
That caused a rule change.
So yeah, like I said, maybe they, like I said, that's why another reason why they might not come out there again. And I don't know, there's part of me that hopes they keep the bigger drive teams. I really do. I don't know. It was okay. I thought that it was going to be less room behind the glass and everything, and it really wasn't that.
Right. Well, I've taken up enough of your guys' time, Brent and Clinton. You guys, Clinton and Randy, and I'll chop that out. You guys need to go get something to eat and recover from your meeting. Scott needs to do whatever Scott does. We don't know, but he's.
Yes, go get something.
Oh,
I got to go work on.
Oh yeah, that's right. So as you guys sign off, please tell us your names, what team you're from, how we can follow your team, and we'll get out of here. So Clinton, Brandy, we're with you first.
This is Brandy Bollinger.
And Clinton Bollinger.
We are the head mentors for Team 2337, the EngiNerds out of Grand Blanc, Michigan. Find us at team2337.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Team2337.
And Scott?
This is Stapp with Team FridgeBot, Corunna 5084. You can find us on Facebook, Corunna Robotics Competition Team. You can also find me on the Michigan Robotics Events and Training page. And I encourage you, if you hear of any training and events that other robotics teams can use, please get on there, share the information. Let's get everybody trained and get all the information out there.
I agree. And if I don't hear from you guys, or if I don't talk to you guys before the holidays, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you guys at Kettering in a couple weeks. So thanks for coming on the podcast tonight.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks.
The RoboZone podcast is brought to you by AndyMark.com, your robot parts experts.
Again, I'd like to thank Brandy Bollinger, Clinton Bollinger, and Scott Stapp for stopping by the podcast and giving us some insight on what we need to do to get ready for the kickoff season, which is right around the corner. Thank you for listening to the RoboZone podcast. This will be the last RoboZone podcast for this year. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the RoboZone crew, and hopefully you have a safe holiday season. We will see you at Kettering Kickoff, and we will see you right around the corner for more robotic competition. Thank you for listening. Have a great evening, and goodbye.
The RoboZone podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world. Thanks for listening to the RoboZone podcast with your host, Pete Ekman. Find us online at RoboZoneTV.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.